Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new, and welcome to my March wrap up. March was a really good month for me. It was my birthday month. I am now officially 27 years old. But it was also a really great reading month for me. I did end up reading 10 books in total, which, let me tell you, is not like me. I am not usually one of those readers who makes it into double figures, but I'll take it. It was a very mixed bag in terms of genre, in terms of rating, in terms of everything, but it was a great reading month, and I did end up reading 2 5-star books this month, one of which has become a new all-time favourite book. So yeah, March was a good month. I'm not gonna lie, there are quite a few fillers in here because it wouldn't really be an India wrap up if there wasn't, but there's also some fantasy, some contemporary, a bit of everything. Yeah, if you would like to hear all about the books I read in March, then just keep watching. So the first book I read in March was Someone We Know by Shari Lapena. I did actually read this for a Shari Lapena taste test vlog, in which I found out I am very much a fan of Shari Lapena's writing. This one follows a number of characters in a small suburban neighbourhood that seems perfect from the outside, but of course we know they all have their secrets. A woman from this neighbourhood goes missing under suspicious circumstances, and then a couple of people in this neighbourhood get letters from a very apologetic mum saying that her young teenage boy has been breaking into their houses. Then the missing woman is found dead, and the whole neighbourhood goes into paranoia, hysteria, upheaval, secrets come out, affairs emerge. We follow a number of different perspectives throughout this so that we can get little bits from each character, get some secrets from some secrets from others. They're all hiding things from each other, they're also hiding things from us. It is just a really exciting and mysterious thriller. I absolutely love this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, which is amazing for my first book by this author. I thought it was so fast paced, so gripping. It had me guessing right up until the end. There are a number of twists and turns, all of which I was shook by. I just thought the pacing was done perfectly by Shari Lapena. The suspense was kept throughout, and I just kept turning the page wanting to know more. The second book I read was, of course, another Shari Lapena for said taste test vlog. This one is called The End of Her. In this one we follow again a number of characters. It's very similar in its format to Someone We Know, but the main premise is that we have Stephanie and Patrick, who are a newlywed, very happy couple with their newborn twins. These newborn twins do have colic, so they are keeping them up all throughout the night, but despite this they are very happy in their little family together and feel very lucky to have what they have. And then a woman turns up on the doorstep blackmailing Patrick, saying that his previous wife's death was not an accident and in fact he murdered her. The story goes from there. It is all about obviously Stephanie trying to find out the truth, us trying to find out the truth. There are a number of very suspicious and evil characters in this. Unfortunately I did end up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars, which seems like quite a drop from the previous one. I did really enjoy the book, it just didn't match up to the first one for me. I did eat it up in a matter of days. It was still quite gripping and it still made me want to keep turning the pages, and basically Shari Lapena's writing style is just very easy to get on with, and it does allow you to just read and read. But I do feel like this one could have been a little bit shorter. I felt like it did become quite repetitive at points, particularly because of this blackmailing trope. Maybe that's just not a trope for me because obviously that is the main premise of the book, and it just felt very repetitive to me. A lot of sections felt like they could have been a lot shorter, and I also guessed a number of the twists in this, which is the risk you take when you read any thriller book, but it is disappointing nonetheless. So yeah, 3 out of 5 stars for this one. The next book I read in March was The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. If you've watched my channel for a while, you will know that I am a huge Lisa Jewell fan. I just eat up her thrillers. I really click with her writing style, and I just turn page after page wanting to know more. In this one we have 3 different timelines. We follow Tallulah, who is a young teenage woman in college living at home with her mum but also having a baby son. We then have a timeline in summer 2017 where Tallulah goes out for the night with her boyfriend, whose name I can't remember because we do not really like him, so he's not really sticking in my mind. Zach. So her and her boyfriend Zach go out for this romantic date, and they end up going to a pool party afterwards while Tallulah's mum Kim looks after their baby son Noah. However, Kim wakes up in the morning and Tallulah and Zach are still not back and they do not reappear. and she does not believe that they would run away and leave their baby son. We then have a year forward in summer 2018 where Sophie moves into a little cottage with her boyfriend due to him starting teaching at a nearby school. She's walking around the grounds and she finds a sign that says dig here. And the story goes from there. This one, as usual for Lisa Jewell, was very fast paced, very engaging. I really wanted to know what was going on. There were a number of twists throughout that I did not see coming. However, I did guess the ending. Once again, the risk you take with a thriller. I did guess it fairly early on. It was a good ending. I really enjoyed it. It's just you can't help but be disappointed when you guess it. I would say the first half of this book is slower paced, just while the author paints the picture of what has been happening and the fact that this case is going dead and cold. However, from the halfway mark it definitely picks up and it gets very fast paced. It is impossible to put down. I really enjoyed 3 different timelines. I think that Lisa Jewell weaved them together very well, giving you all the right bits of information at the right time in the right timeline. Overall, I did really enjoy this book and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in March was actually a book on Kindle Unlimited, and that was The Neighbours by Ania Ahlborn. This is a horror book. Horror is a genre that I really want to delve into more over the coming months, so if you have any good horror book recommendations then please do let me know. In this one we follow a young man named Andrew whose dad left him and his mum when he was very young, and ever since his mum has been struggling with agoraphobia and alcoholism. He has lived a very miserable life in which he has basically been the main sort of caretaker of the household. He has gone out, paid the bills, done everything for his mum because obviously she cannot go outside, and she's also very abusive towards him. Finally he decides enough is enough, like I need to live my own life, I need to do what is right for me, as hard as that is him leaving his mum behind, and he moves in with an old childhood friend. When he turns up to move in with his childhood friend, he gets into this neighbourhood that is beautiful, white picket fences everywhere, everything seems perfect, and when he arrives at his friend's house, it is the one house in the neighbourhood that is just an absolute eyesore, falling apart, not being taken care of. He moves in and his friend is immediately very distant, very odd really, and then he meets the neighbours next door who are this eerily perfect couple who at first seem like everything he ever wanted. He almost finds like a mother figure in the woman, but then we realise there's something very wrong with this couple, and there is this idea that his childhood friend Mickey, I believe his name is actually working with this couple and bringing young men for her for some secretive reason. That is the main premise of the book. I really enjoyed this book to begin with. I was instantly hooked. I thought it was really creepy and sort of gritty. Definitely kept me engaged, had me shook at some points, really wanted to know what was happening. However, I did feel like it fell a little flat for me. I had heard that this book was like hugely horrific, graphic, difficult to read, and I don't know if I'm just like really dark, but I did not feel that way at all. I did feel quite disappointed by this book. I really enjoyed the premise, but I'm just not sure it was executed that well. I do definitely want to read more Ania Ahlborn in the future because I have heard amazing things about some of her other books, but this one just fell a little bit flat for me, so I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in March is now one of my all-time favourite books. I am obsessed with it, and that is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. You guys need to read this book if you have not already. 5 out of 5 stars, one of the most incredible books I've ever read. I think my favourite V.E. Schwab book to date. I actually was able to go to the book launch in Edinburgh for this and meet her, listen to her talk about this book, and honestly the most inspiring night of my life. She is incredible. I love her. In this book we follow Olivia Pryor, who is a young orphaned girl living at an orphanage for young girls. It is a horrible, dreary place where she's not treated very well. She is bullied because she is actually non-verbal, but all she has to keep her company throughout these dreary days is her mother's old notebook, in which her mother had talked about her life before and addressed almost like letters to who Olivia believes is her father. It is also mingled with pictures or drawings that don't seem to make much sense to her. The notebook seems to get more scattered and almost seem like her mum is descending into madness towards the end. However, there is one line that sticks out, and that is that Olivia is to stay away from Gallant. Then she receives a letter from her uncle who has been trying to find her for years, sending these letters to every school, orphanage that he could think of, and finally she receives it, and it is an invitation to come and live with her family at Gallant. So of course she is shipped off to this place, but when she gets there, her uncle is long dead and her cousin does not want her there. And the story goes from there. This is one of the most beautifully written books I have ever read. It is gothic, it is haunting, it is YA, but in the best way. V.E. Schwab has a really interesting take on ghouls or ghosts in this. It definitely reminds me of Crimson Peak in that respect, and I just absolutely adored this book. The ending to me was absolutely perfect. I shed a little tear when I read it, and I know some people didn't like the ending, but I just thought it was absolutely perfect. And yeah, I can't wait to reread this one. This is the copy that I got at the launch, and I'm definitely going to reread it and tab it ASAP, and try not to tab every single line in the freaking book. The next book I read in March was another thriller, and that was The Assistant by S.K. Tremayne. This one follows a young woman called Jo, who is newly divorced. She is a freelance journalist. Her life is kind of coming to a standstill and she moves into her friend's spare room in her flat, but her friend most of the time isn't there anyway because she does live with her fiance, I believe. And in this flat there are a number of assistants, kind of like Alexas of different descriptions, all linked together, and they start to act very strangely. They start to talk to Jo, telling her things like, I know what you did, do you remember the blood, I know what happened to that boy, things like that. They start turning the lights on when she's not asked them to, they start turning the lights off when she's not asked them to. They play this song that is a song from a very traumatic event in her past, and they basically completely turn on her, start to ruin her life in every way possible. This book very much dives into, is it mental illness or is it someone toying with her and trying to ruin her life? And sometimes that trope I do not like. Sometimes I think it is done very badly, other times I think it is done very well, so I'm very cautious when that trope comes into play. This book I am still confused by, because in many respects I absolutely love this book. It was so fast paced. If you're looking for a book that is just going to keep you on edge, that is quite creepy and dark and it's just going to keep you engaged the whole way through, then this is the book for you. My criticism of this book is that though it delves very much into mental illness and in many ways is very good in its representation, it does use words like schizo on multiple occasions, which I don't understand, obviously do not agree with, it's incredibly offensive, and it is coming from characters who are supposedly very well educated and cultured. So I don't know if it was a conscious decision on the author's part to say that even though these characters are educated, they still have some sort of stigma towards mental illness, or if the author genuinely just didn't know how offensive that was. Either way, I didn't like it. So without that, it would have been a 5-star thriller. With that, I bumped it down to a 4. The next book I read in March was another thriller, and that was The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse. This one I buddy read with Leah, and I do actually have a reading vlog again for this one, which you can watch if you want to know my full thoughts as I read it. But in this one we follow Ellen, who is a detective who is on long-term sick leave after a very difficult case that she went through. She is also still grieving the loss of her brother from when she was a child, because it did happen in very mysterious circumstances, and she is then invited to the engagement party of her estranged brother at the sanatorium, what is now a hotel but used to be a sanatorium for patients with TB, up in the Swiss Alps, very isolated from the rest of civilization. And when she arrives there, she is already on edge because she has issues with her brother Isaac, and then her brother's fiance goes missing. Not long after that, a body shows up and the whole hotel is put into lockdown, but none of the police can get out to them because there has been a massive avalanche. So Ellen ends up becoming the sort of detective on the case, although she obviously doesn't have jurisdiction here and is limited in what she can do, but she does work with the Swiss police to try and investigate what is going on. This book was great in many respects. The setting was fantastic. It was so eerie and creepy, the perfect sort of wintry, chilling thriller. Again, it had me on edge. I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know who the killer was. I thought that the twists were great, and I thought it was all very well written, all very well paced. Everything came together perfectly. Everything I wanted from a thriller. However, a lot of this book tries to be feminist. There's a lot of commentary on women being exploited or abused by men, and that was great. I love that sort of feminist undertone to it. However, the main character's partner in this is one of the most gaslighting, manipulative characters I have ever read. I hate him. I want him to die. And throughout the book, you kind of think there's going to be like character development. Ellen's going to realise how awful this relationship is and how much her partner is manipulating her and gaslighting her. But that doesn't happen. Instead, the partner is made out to be like a victim, and Ellen has this like moment of clarity where she realises that she has been the one that has been sabotaging this relationship all along and she needs to treat him better. Therefore, once again, this thriller was bumped down from a 5-star to a 3-star because I just cannot get past that. I don't know what the author was trying to do here. I seriously question whether she even realises that she wrote such a manipulative, gaslighting character, because I don't know how she can make so many feminist points but then victimise this man. I don't know. The next book I read in March was again a book on Kindle Unlimited, and that is The Holiday by T.M. Logan. This is a thriller where we follow Kate. Why do I always forget the names of characters? Kate. We follow Kate, who goes on holiday to this amazing villa in France with her husband and her children, and then her 3 best girlfriends from college. They all come along with their partners and children as well, and it's like this big amazing holiday. However, on the first day, she finds texts on her husband's phone proving that he is having an affair, and that he is having an affair with one of these 3 friends that are at the villa. So she then takes it upon herself to sort of investigate. She doesn't want to confront him straight away. She wants to build some evidence so that he can't just deny it. And the story goes from there. It is very high stakes. There is more to this than just a simple affair. That's all I'm going to say. But it is definitely a very gripping read. I read this very fast. I did not want to put it down. Again, I really clicked with the writing style. It was a perfect holiday thriller, I would say. Obviously, it's set on holiday, but the way that the author wrote this holiday setting was just perfect. It totally transported me to France, to this sunny holiday villa, and I would love to have read this one by the pool. If you do need a thriller for a holiday coming up, then definitely take this one with you. And I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars because the twists I just did not see coming at all. Like, I had no idea where this book was going for a long time. The reason it's a 4-star is because I did think that the pacing wasn't perfect. I did get a little bit bored, honestly, because we were going on about this affair for so long and I was waiting for the stakes to rise for it to become a proper thriller. When they did, it was great, but I felt like it took a little bit too long to get there. So 4 out of 5 stars. The penultimate book I read in March was Luster by Leilani. In this book, we follow Edie, who is a young black woman basically just trying to survive, trying to negotiate youth, race and misogyny in our current 21st century world. She then meets Eric, who is an older man, and she enters into an open relationship with him because he is in an open marriage. However, she then ends up meeting his wife and everything gets very complicated. The actual plot of the story isn't what is important in this book, though. It is the incredible way that Leilani explores all of the themes in this. The racism, the misogyny, the idea of being young and just having absolutely no idea what to do with your life. It is darkly funny, it is beautifully written, it is some of the most witty commentary on our modern day I have read. I think she is an incredible author and I can't wait to read her next books. I do believe this one is her debut. This is actually the first book I have ever tabbed. I decided I wanted to get into annotating and I am so glad I did because there are so many lines in this that I want to remember forever. Maybe I should give you an example. So this quote really spoke to me in terms of just being a young woman in our modern day having absolutely no idea where her life is going. And it says, "I cannot help feeling that I am at the end of a fluctuation that originated with a single butterfly. I mean, with 1/2 degree of difference, everything I want could be mine. I am good, but not good enough, which is worse than simply being bad. It is almost." That's just one example of the beautiful writing in this book. I did end up giving it 4 out of 5 stars and I would highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in those sort of themes and that sort of writing. And the final book that I read in March was my first Toni Morrison book. I have been meaning to read her books for so long because I know how incredible they are supposed to be, and the one I read this month was The Bluest. I actually got this for my birthday from my mum because I've been talking to her about how much I want to read authors like Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, and this one definitely did not disappoint. The only rating for this book is 5 out of 5 stars. It is so heartbreakingly beautiful, hard hitting. It is impossible to read this book without having to think about everything about your attitudes, about everyone else's attitudes, about the lives that some people have. In this, we follow a number of characters living in 1940s Ohio in the post-depression. We're following a number of black characters, young children who are living in this town. Again, for this one, the plot is not the main aspect of this. Not that much really happens. It is mostly just a commentary on their lives and racism at this time, misogyny again at this time. All of this commentary still resonating today, and the most poignant thing about this book is that it is mostly written from the perspective of young black children who have actually internalized all of this hatred and discrimination that they experience and have come to believe that it is justified. And that was a conscious choice by Toni Morrison to try and explore that and how that impacts not only them but other people that surround them. The concept of the bluest eye comes from the fact that we have a character based on a real life person that Toni Morrison knew, who is a young black girl who wishes for blue eyes like the other white children that she is surrounded by. She believes that these blue eyes will make her beautiful and they will mean that people will treat her differently, which is just the most heartbreaking thing to think about. But this whole book is just beautiful. It is incredibly sad. Do not pick this up if you want a happy, light book, but it is one that I think everyone should read. Again, pretty much for all of these books, please check trigger warnings. So that is all the books that I read in March. Like I said, just a great reading month. Hopefully I can keep that up in the months to come and get a really good Goodreads count for the year. But I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. Let me know if you've read any of these books, your thoughts on them, if you plan to read any of these books. If you made it to the end of this video, then pop the lips emoji down below, just because I'm currently looking at this stunning cover and that's the first emoji that comes to mind. So pop that emoji down below just to let me know that you made it to the end of this video and that you enjoyed your time here. But as always, if you did make it to the end of this video, then do please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe for more bookish content from me, comment down below with any of your thoughts and feelings. I do reply to every single comment. I love you all and I will see you in my next one.